Hello and welcome to the Snowflake Spotlight. I'm your host, Caveman Only, and this is a podcast series where I interview one unique Ironman in the old school RuneScape community each episode, diving deep to examine the intricacies of their unique Ironman account. As always, any good podcast has a supporting sponsor, and I'm happy to continue my support for OSRS bestinslot.com. OSRS bestinslot.com is a growing platform for all things PVM or gear related, especially if you're a noob, but even for a RuneScape veteran, this website contains tons of useful information on how you should gear for every boss in the game, and is especially designed to make you feel even guiltier when you die at Zulrah for the 27th time, even after changing your gear setup. As a disclaimer, this is a tool to inform you on how to be like the best, not on how to be the best. This site is constantly improving and adapting information to be up to date with every new piece of content that is pushed into the live game. Speaking of improvement, the developer is working closely with another member of the RuneScape community on an entire website overhaul that will include even more information in an even prettier format. It won't change how bad you are at the game, but it'll look really nice. So head on over to osrsbestinslot.com and check it out for yourself. Or, if you forget what the website is 5 minutes after listening to this, just Google OSRS gear and that'll work too. Now that the paid portion of this broadcast is over, let's get into the juicy stuff. For today's episode, I have with me the new king of old school RuneScape YouTube, Mr. Settled and his Mauritania locked Ultimate Ironman, swampletics. Settled, thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely, dude. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
How's the weather in Mauritania today?
Well, honestly, it could be better. It's not the greatest. Pretty high humidity these days, but other than that, we're doing all right.
That's great, man. That's great to hear. Hey, well, again, thank you so much for being here. I know you are a very busy man these days. You are the talk of the town. Well, hey, let's dive right in. Why don't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with a bit of background info. The basics. So, talk to us about when you first started playing RuneScape.
So it was a beautiful year. It was 2005. I was 5 years old actually when I started playing.
Wow.
And yeah, a lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but it's
Seriously,
true.
that's very young.
I had no idea what I was doing, but somehow this game just really appealed to me. My brother introduced me to it.
Okay.
And well, here we still are today, 2019. So
that seems to be the ongoing story with basically everybody.
yeah.
That I don't know about finding the game at 5 years old, but I started playing I think when I was 12. So you've actually, even though you are younger than me, you've been playing RuneScape for longer than I have, which is kind of weird for me to wrap my head around. But
it's so weird because it's like it's been in my life for like a majority of my life. It's I don't know, it's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, that is
Humble beginnings.
unreal. Okay, so wow, you've been playing since 2005. Okay, and then now what about old school RuneScape? So have you played since release, or how did that go for you?
I joined about a month after the 2013 release in February. It started like end of March, I believe. So pretty much, pretty close to release, yeah.
Okay, and were you part of the crew that played basically up to EOC's release, and then you weren't satisfied with that? Is that how that went?
Yeah, definitely. I played all the way up until the update, and then just quit right then and there.
Yeah, I'm in that same camp, and well, here we both are. Spoiler alert. And it seems to be going pretty well for both of us here.
It's going well. It's going very well.
So,
yeah.
Man, I cannot wait to talk about that. We'll get to modern times and how you're dealing with that later on in the interview. But now, talk to me about the name Swampletics, the new Mauritania locked Ultimate Ironman. How'd you come up with that name?
All right, so it's not swamp lettuce. It's not swamp legs, right?
Okay.
A lot of people seem to think that. I get comments every single video that still don't know what the actual name means, or even if it's like actually swampletics. But what the inspiration behind this was the whole like ironically calling yourself like an athlete, like a RuneScape or a gaming athlete. And I combine that with the word swamp. So athletics, and then the end of athletics at the end of swamp. So I'm an athlete of the swamp, basically, is the meaning.
100% accurate. I mean, I think we've all seen the episode with you jumping the bridge for that agility training.
Exactly.
I mean, that seems pretty athletic to me, man. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, very appropriate. I dig it, and I think that basically everyone else does as well. It's very catchy.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'd say that you're, relatively speaking, you're pretty new to the Snowflake Iron Man community because obviously you just
Hmm.
spent time maxing your Ultimate Iron Man.
Right.
So, of all of the available regions in the game, what compelled you to pick Mauritania of all places? Because I know for me personally, probably one of my least favorite regions in the entire game.
Right. Okay.
Aside from maybe the Elven Lands, because all of the traps
Hmm.
and it's like impossible to
Okay. Yeah,
navigate.
I cannot stand the Elven Lands as well.
Yeah, the Tehran only
Yeah.
Ultimate Iron Man guy, Turtle Tail
Yeah.
that started up
Sorry,
recently, like
Turtle but I
more.
cannot stand the
Yeah,
Elven Lands.
I mean more power to you, man. But wow, but Mauritania would be number two for me. So talk to me
Mhm.
of all of the regions, why Mauritania?
Okay, so I touched on this very briefly in my first ever episode. The couple things that I wanted before going into the challenge was, first of all, there was no ultimate doing Mauritania yet, so that
Right.
was a big thumbs up there. And at the same time, I weighed all my options obviously before doing this because I wanted to pick the perfect area. And it was kind of like a process of elimination. I
Okay.
looked at desert, but I saw, well, there's not really much end game content. And I think for me, probably the most important thing in a Snowflake account is having that like final thing to strive for. So
Oh,
TOB
of
in
course.
Mauritania or Barrows, etc. So I had a really good end game goal. Desert, not so much. So the second area that I weighed was Zaya. And as
Hmm.
much as I liked Zaya, it is a continent, and I
Right.
just didn't feel like it was restricted enough, if that makes sense. I thought there was a lot to do, even too much to do, and I wanted to feel a real sense of restriction. So
Sure.
Mauritania just, I don't know, it seemed like the perfect area. No one had done it yet as an ultimate, so here we are.
Yeah, I mean, now as someone who's been doing this for almost 2 years now, when I first started doing this, when I first started playing Caveman, I thought it would be unheard of to not only play a Snowflake, an area restricted account, but on top of that being an Ultimate Iron Man. I mean, I suppose it just makes sense for you because you just finished maxing an Ultimate Iron Man. But
Yeah.
what I mean, uh, was there any point in the process of making this account where you considered just being a regular Iron Man, or was it Ultimate Iron Man 100% all the way?
So one thing about this game that it's kind of stayed constant for the past like 3 or 4 years is I really love the Ultimate Iron Man game mode.
Hmm.
Obviously, I maxed an account on it, and I wanted to. What part of the reason was just I wanted to continue on the game mode that I love and has been a part of my channel for such a long time.
Sure.
But also, I think a big thing for me is I love ridiculously hard challenges,
Hmm.
and I kind of contemplated some other really difficult challenges that we'll probably get into later. And I don't know, I just wanted it to be as difficult as possible, but also still have fun. And since I was so familiar with the game mode, it just seemed like the best choice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I figured that again would probably feel pretty natural for you, considering you just maxed an ultimate, and now, as the intro we all know and love, you're trying to up the ante, and this time you can't
Exactly,
leave
yeah.
Mauritania. So hey, it just seems natural. Now,
And another thing, sorry to
sure,
interrupt, but I've always wanted to play the game mode without looting bags, Zulrah, all that, like all that stuff that comes with being an Ultimate Iron Man in the regular,
right?
RuneScape world. With all these ways to store stuff, I wanted to really kind of feel like this vanilla experience with it. So
Yeah, I mean that's a big point that I hadn't even considered, honestly. What was the biggest motivating factor for you to create this account?
I think probably touching on what you just said, you see, I've been wanting to, okay, I'm going to make a reference here, but I've been wanting to up the ante for quite a while now. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Uh, yeah, so I mean, I've touched on making area restricted accounts in 2017. I've
Mhm.
just been a huge fan of it. I was following Wildependant back when he was doing it. Um, I watched Easyscape's Desert Only, Karanja Only on Reddit. It's just kind of been, I don't know, it's been in the back of my mind for a very long time.
Mhm.
And after maxing, obviously, it was just the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's talk about some of the planning that went into your account. So,
Mhm.
if you don't mind sharing, how much planning went into your account before you started, prior to releasing the first
So
episode on YouTube?
yeah, I gotcha. So actual planning, I think I spent a couple days just trying to figure out how to get there with the lowest stats possible.
Mhm.
I didn't do much research into like how I'm gonna progress my account once I got into Mauritania. I wanted the first episode to kind of feel like I'm in here for the first time. I don't really know what I'm doing, and because I didn't. And you could see that by me not knowing what the shop will buy things for, or that
Right.
I struggle with GP and stuff like that. Because I just wanted to feel authentic in the first episode, and then once the second episode came around, that's when I really started the whole planning ahead, seeing how far I can go, where can I get more gear, etc. But probably like a couple days before coming into Mauritania, and other than that, it's kind of just been passive.
Okay. I mean, I think that that's a great way to approach it. I think that's a great way to approach it, is that not only were you trying to portray it as authentic, but I think that it was actually authentic.
Hmm.
That you obviously had a basic outline for what you wanted to do, which is, lock yourself in Mauritania and do that with as few restrictions or as little XP as possible.
Hmm.
Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something that I don't know how many people know this, but I know this because we had conversations prior to you releasing the video on Twitter, that in the early stages of you starting swampletics, that you actually restarted the account before you published the first video. Is that correct?
Right. In fact, it wasn't just one restart. It was there was about 6 or 7 accounts in total.
Wow, I was not
Yeah.
aware it was that many.
Yeah, I mean
So,
it was I was thinking about this idea in I think it started in like late May, maybe even early June, but it wasn't relating to swampletics at that point. It was a different idea
right.
that I was working on passively and trying to put out there.
And what idea was that?
Okay, so the idea was, and this was like, I don't know what I was thinking, honestly, but this like upping the ante thing was so burned into my brain that I wanted to take it so far that it kind of just became impossible. The idea was to make a hardcore Iron Man. It was
Okay.
originally a hardcore, and then lock it to only Morton and the swamp around it. So no Canifis, no Port Phasmatis.
Wow.
Sleep didn't exist yet, and yeah, it was kind of ridiculous because the end goal of the series was to kill the Barrows brothers, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't have an altar to do so. I had no weapons when I was going in. I was all one stats. Everything was like level 30, 50. My plan was to flinch shades for the first 30 to 50 hours of the account for some basic stats. And Iron Dagger was the best in slot. It was just, it was very unrealistic. And basically, I just couldn't do it. Like I was beaten by my own challenge.
Well, I mean, I don't
And
blame you. That
yeah,
is probably the most restrictive idea I've ever heard for anything, maybe ever, aside from like the two
the
tiles
two
north of the
tiles, yeah.
northwest corner of Lumbridge Church, Mage Only Ultimate
Right.
Iron Man.
Yeah. I mean, it was just I ended up dying on literally every single account because it
Wow.
was too difficult. Hmm.
What about the most idiotic grind that you've had to do because of your restrictions? Not necessarily the slowest grind per se, but something that literally no one else in the game would have an excuse to do, or have an excuse to train in this way, but you've had to endure it because that's what happens when you sign up for a Mauritania locked Ultimate Iron Man.
Right. So I think easily this one would go to the Grotto Bridge.
Ah,
Very,
yes.
very easily. Which for
Yes.
the people who don't know, I think at one agility it's about a 5% chance to successfully cross. You get 15 XP on a success, 2 XP on a failure, and you can get hit anywhere from a 1 to 7 on a failure. So
Wow.
you need a lot of food to do so, and it's not that fast XP.
So, how many levels did you have to do that for, and how long did that take you?
Uh, I did it from 1 to 25 agility,
Okay.
which after that you unlock werewolf agility course, or skull ball rather.
Right, right.
And I think in total probably about like probably close to 20 hours I want to say on the Grotto Bridge.
Wow.
It got a
20.
lot faster, but yeah, it was something close to that.
Wow, 20 hours for 25 agility. That's like absolute madness. What's one of the most rewarding things that you found so far playing a restricted Iron Man?
I mean, Probably just any kind of upgrade is just incredible to get. I kind of made this comparison earlier, which I think you can probably agree with, but this game has for main accounts, for example, it's kind of really devolved into I want to get more money to buy this, and that's what makes me happy in this game. But when you can boil that down to such a simple level where, getting a steel warhammer makes you really happy because it means a lot to you for your account,
Mhm.
then why not do it? That's amazing. So probably just gear upgrades in general are probably the most satisfying thing.
In terms of other grinds and milestones, obviously as an Ultimate Iron Man in Mauritania, you don't have a whole lot of banking options, and obviously you're severely limited in terms of what you can carry in your inventory. So, what is
Mhm.
the worst prep needed for you to do any kind of task, whether it's a quest that you've completed, or temple trekking, or training a certain skill? Like, what's the worst prep you have to do for any given task?
I'd say probably the worst by far is Barrows. It sucks to prep for.
Okay, interesting.
So because the problem is that everything is spread so far apart, like altars and food sources, and
Right.
obviously when you have a bank, you have all this in one place. So that is probably the worst. And combined with, not having a teleport pretty close to it, I have Shades of Morn, but obviously the 20-minute cooldown.
Hmm.
I'd say doing all this prep for bears is by far the worst prep for any kind of activity. Although I imagine Theater of Blood is going to be tenfold that. It's going to be
Naturally,
awful.
probably.
Yeah.
So what does your Barrows prep look like exactly?
So what I usually do is now that I have the Draken's medallion is I teleport to TOB and I go into the Theater of Blood instance and then I resign immediately so that way all my stats are regened. And this will give me full run. And what I've been doing recently for food is I do temple trekking and I claim the raw lobster reward. So I teleport back to TOB again because it's like a few steps closer to the bank. There's a bank there. Unknow all the raw lobsters and then run north to the town Sleep. And there's a range there. And I cook all the lobsters there. And after that, I
Wow.
teleport back to TOB again because I lost all my run energy running over there. So I have to go back into the theater, regen
Oh
my
my
run
goodness.
again, and then do the Shades of Morton Telly to Barrows. So, and sometimes you have to cook two trips because I mean, you burn a lot of lobsters. So,
Right, naturally. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That is absolutely wild. I mean, I guess it makes sense though why you put so much emphasis on completing a Taste of Hope for the Draken's Medallion.
hmm Yeah.
Now,
Without that, I can't even imagine.
yeah, so obviously that's huge for you because it's basically like sort of equivalent to, I guess, like the Clan Wars portal where you can just kind of enter,
Right.
immediately resign, and then exit, and all of your stats are restored, including your run energy. Talk to me about the Ghosts Ahoy quest,
Right. The
because it's obviously a Mauritania based quest, but to my understanding, you have decided not to do that quest, right?
Yes, I have decided not to. I figured for the longevity of the series, having as much integrity as possible is going to make it more appealing. And I also just, I don't know, I didn't want to cheat myself out of a challenge either. I
Mhm.
feel like it's just not necessary, like it is literally only a time save. Um, and if it's not necessary to do for Mauritania content, then there is no reason to do it. Granted, I still get a lot of people that are like angry with me for not doing it, which,
Right.
whatever. I mean, it's my suffering, not yours, so I don't really see the big deal, but
True.
I don't know. I enjoy the account more when it's more pure and it has more integrity, so why I did
Sure.
it.
Now, for that particular quest, what would be the trade off? So, what would you have to do that would make you essentially have to make an exception to your rules? And then what would be the reward from completing the quest?
So the exceptions would have to be you need to get silk, which I can obtain in Mauritania. You need to get that from like Al Kharid or wherever. And
Sure.
then you need to get the dyes for the quest. So I'd have to make like three sets of three colored different dyes. And then that is to like color the like flag on the ship during the quest. So you can't. Originally, a lot of people thought you couldn't get a bucket of milk, but you can actually get it out of your POH if
Right.
you made that exception. So that's I don't know. when we're talking about multiple items that I have to get, that also didn't really appeal to me. But the reward for doing the quest would be the ecto file, which is a very very central teleport when it comes to like Port Phasmatis and Canifis. And you also get free access to the city, which currently, as an ultimate, I do have the drawback of needing ecto tokens on me at all times to enter that city. So that's another
Right.
thing that it would improve quality of life wise.
Right. So, but again, from my understanding, completing Ghost Ahoy would really only be quality of life because, again, you get the ecto file, but
Yeah.
that's just kind of a convenience thing that gives you greater access and faster access to Port Phasmatis, and then the free entry without ecto tokens.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so,
Whereas it'll unlock, it's all just quality of life.
all right, let's move on to the next topic. One that's one of my favorites to talk about with any Snowflake account, and that is the subject of dead content. Absolutely love it. I know Mauritania is full of it.
Right.
Um, Talk to me about the most obscure piece of content you found in Mauritania.
So before we get into content, I recently discovered something that was just, I don't know, it was really really cool to me because
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people would normally glance over this, but there is a cheese spawn in the town of Sleep, right?
Okay.
And it's crazy how much one piece of cheese can change a lot, right? But with the piece of cheese, hobgoblins drop tomato seeds as well. You can make pineapple pizzas, which are, a gigantic
Wow. No way.
upgrade in food. I mean, that is a 22 HP healing food
Yeah.
on par with the best. So just, little things like that, how there was no way to get cheese beforehand, but this one little random cheese spawn that they decided to put in the dungeon of sleep is is kind of, I don't know, it's game changing in a way.
that is
So yeah.
that is absolutely wild. I didn't know about that before.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Wow. I think that certainly qualifies as just obscure and unknown. Because again, there are other Mauritania only accounts or other like swamp only accounts that have existed for a while, but I have never heard that piece of information before. And
Yeah,
I just think that's mind blowing that that one random cheese spawn now makes you able to make pineapple pizzas.
right. Yeah, it's great.
Wow, that is unreal. All right, so in terms of other dead content, I mean, when I say that phrase, I mean to me, literally all of Mauritania is dead content, like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
and metaphorically. But so talk to me about some of the dead content there. What is your favorite piece of dead content?
I'd say probably the entirety of Tarn's Lair. I mean, it is just the most neglected thing. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure someone was incredibly intoxicated when they made the drop tables for it. It is just the most horribly thought of thing when you think about the drop tables. I mean, you've got like rune nails, bowls of water. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's unreal how weird this drop table is compared to anything in the game. But I love it so much for that because some of the obscurities really come in handy in some situations where, normally no one cares about that drop table. No one has, probably 99% of people have never killed a zombie in that place.
Mhm.
And it turns out to be great, such as the pestle and mortar drop from the level 81 to 100 zombies,
Right.
which let me make blamish oil for herblore XP. So I mean, stuff like that is just, Tarn's Lair is a gold mine, seriously.
Yeah. Now, at least to me, it seems like it's a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously you have all of these very obscure drop tables of the creatures in Tarn's lair, and all of these crazy items like rune nails. Like, has anyone ever even like made rune nails before? I'm not sure,
I don't think so. There's no way someone would do that.
but I feel like it's a double-edged sword because on the one hand you have these crazy drop tables. On the other hand, I feel like a lot of it is probably undocumented. So, what's your
Mhm.
experience with the documentation on the official wiki with some of these drop tables?
So I have done some work on the skeleton and zombie drop tables. One that I did most recently, which is, oh, this is gold. Okay, so there is a skeletal mage in Tarn's lair. It is one room before actually before Tarn himself, right?
Hmm.
And these mages on the wiki originally had only one drop on their table.
Okay. What
They
was
were
that?
listed as the ashes were a 100% drop from them, right?
Okay.
The only drop on their table was wrong. The only drop. So they actually drop bones 100% of the time, and they also have 55 other unique drops.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was literally 0 things correct about that table.
That is mind-boggling.
Yeah. It's actually incredible how unexplored the content is, and I'm sure I still haven't found everything about it.
Yeah, probably not, but that just again, this is why I love this stuff. This is why I love unique Iron Man and Snowflake Iron Man, and particularly
Yeah.
swampletics, because like, how long has Mauritania been in the game? Do you have any idea when that was released?
Probably like 2004,
Yeah,
I want to say.
let's do a quick wiki search. Let's see.
Priest in Peril OSRS.
Yeah, let's
Let's
see.
see. Yeah, 2004. June
2004.
29th, 2004.
Wow. And here you are 15 years later almost mapping these drop tables for like the first time.
Yeah,
That
it's crazy.
it blows my mind. So, did you find anything useful on that drop table for that skeletal mage?
There are some interesting drops on that table. There's a rune scimitar. There's some adamant armor. So yeah, not so much for me, but it was just interesting to see them have a drop table at all when it was pretty much everyone in our like tight little community of Mauritania Ironman now because we have like a couple people doing it now.
Right.
Everyone thought they just dropped nothing or ashes 100% of the time.
That's a big discovery.
Hmm.
And even though for you at this stage in your account it's a little inconsequential because you already have some of these gear upgrades. Still, as you said, for anyone trying to join and make a make a
Yeah,
Mauritania only Iron Man or Ultimate Iron Man,
right.
um, that's I just find it fascinating that content that old is that unexplored.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously. I mean, no one's even touched it. Is the funny part.
do you ever see anybody in Tarn's lair ever, like unironically killing things?
I've seen I've seen one person, but they were just going over to do the actual like mini quest, which is the only content that place pretty much serves to regular players. But that's the only time I've ever seen someone there.
So, out of all of the dead content that exists in Mauritania, we haven't even really talked about Shades either. Shades of Morton. Would you consider that?
Right?
Would
Yeah.
you consider that dead?
Oh, absolutely. That is possibly close to as dead as content gets.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, Shades was revived a tiny bit in recent years because we did
Hmm.
get the Amulet of the Damned.
Right.
Before that, I mean, I don't think anyone's like ever done Shades, but the Amulet of the Damned did revive it. For my account in particular, it is a very, very good piece of content. It helped me get my gear for the Trey's Daith fight. There is a bunch of rune items. Once you get 65 fire making, you can get silver keys. You can get the Amulet of the Damned, which is equal to a glory. So there's a lot of stuff there that normally someone would just find, completely useless.
Hmm.
But for my account in particular, it's extremely useful.
All right. Let's move on to the next subject here. Changes and updates to your account that could possibly impact the way that you play this account. One of the first things that I want to talk about, because I think it just sort of begs the question, do you think that you would be playing Swampletics right now if it weren't for the Theater of Blood release?
That is a very good question. And I don't think I would, actually. I think I probably would have picked a different area because, as I mentioned previously, end game content, like that one end goal to go for, is so important to me that I don't think I would have done that. I probably would have chosen something else.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the reason you want a clear, big end goal like that is because you're a content creator, or do you think that you would want that regardless of whether you're making content or not?
I think I would want that regardless. I'm very big on striving for something, I guess. And
Hmm.
Theater of Blood is just, I don't know, it's the perfect thing. I think every good area locked kind of needs that one thing to really strive for because I mean, it kind of sets apart like if you lock yourself to Lumbridge, then you don't really have anything to strive for, I guess is what I mean here. You have to have this like path to kind of guide you on your way. And I think Theater of Blood is really shaping how this account is going because everything is passively working towards this one goal.
I agree with that 100%. Um, and that could just be because I think both you and I are very goal oriented and driven people in that way.
Hmm.
But I think that you have to have something like that to keep you going. Okay, let's move forward here into the end goals and achievements on swampletics. I know that obviously a lot of this is going to be kept under wraps because we don't want spoilers for the video series, of course. But one question I want to know: when do you predict you'll be ready to make your first serious attempt at Theater of Blood?
I think sometime in the summer here, probably towards like mid to end of the summer. So I want to say like July, August region
Really?
is when we'll probably see the first attempt. Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Honestly, that seems very soon to me. Um,
It is approaching. Time is
that
moving fast.
I was honestly expecting you to say sometime early 2020.
Mhm.
Because I didn't think that it would be possible for you to progress that fast to do TOB. Wow, that kind of makes
Full
me feel.
time forehead nowadays.
That's
So I
true.
mean,
Hey, yeah.
hey,
Speaking of
I
which,
think.
congratulations on full time, man. That's
Thank you,
huge.
thank you. Yeah, I
Um,
think it is possible. Honestly, yeah.
wow, that makes me feel bad at the game because I've been playing Caveman for almost 2 years now, and I haven't even gotten to raids 1 yet. Um,
Well, I mean,
so
you I feel like your goals probably take a little longer than mine. I feel
do you think so?
since
Really? I
I mean
mean,
you have things like 93. Okay, never mind. I do have 85,
yeah. I
but I mean
mean,
stuff like that. Um, your gear is definitely going to be better than mine. I want to say.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely on the offensive side of things, you're
yeah,
definitely
for
going to have a
sure.
ton more better gear than me.
Yeah. Now, I guess for me personally, I have first of all, I have more gear options than you do in Mauritania.
Hmm.
But for me, my idea with going into raids is that I want to be as best equipped as possible to not be
Right.
a complete anchor.
Hmm. Yeah.
um.
Completely
So
understand.
yeah. So I could have gone into raids probably 6 months ago, but I would have been severely handicapped. Probably wouldn't have been the most fun, especially for
Right.
people who I'm raiding with, because I've never raided before. Chambers
Mhm.
of Zarek came out just a couple months before I made Caveman. So I've never raided in my entire life as of this podcast. So I'm not going to be soloing anytime soon when I start. So
Right,
therefore,
yeah.
I would like my rating experience with whoever is going to be rating with me to not be just carrying me experience.
Yeah, that is
Um,
completely understandable and commendable, 100%.
well, thank you. Um, so okay, so wow, July or August for your
Yep.
first theater attempts. Okay. Um,
I
viewer
feel like
question.
as
Go ahead.
soon as, like, July or August comes around, people are gonna be like, "Dude, where's the Theater of Blood?" It turns out, maybe it's a bit later, but anyway,
Right.
that's my prediction as of this podcast currently,
Okay.
so
Yeah. Great. I think it's
yeah.
great to qualify that statement and
Mhm.
manage expectations. Under promise, over deliver.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. We don't want July 2019 to turn into the new winter 2017 meme.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Here's a viewer question. Kiwi Dude 4 asks, "What big goals do you have for your account that aren't Barrows or Theater of Blood related?"
So I've thought about this a little bit, right? Because I expect swampletics to easily, like with this end game goal I've made, I expect it to last me the rest of 2019.
Mhm.
Just focusing on Barrows, Theater of Blood, stuff like that. I have played around with the idea of maxing. I
You're
don't.
joking.
No, no, no. I'm not joking at
Oh
all.
my goodness.
I've played around with it. I mean, you've got those 7 skills from temple trekking that can be maxed in
Right.
about, I want to say 2,000 hours.
Hmm.
And then the rest of it is kind of where the problem comes because I mean you've got herb lore, you've
Right.
got smithing,
Right.
farming would be a nightmare. So there's a couple things there. I can't train rune crafting, but I've toyed around with it. It is a possibility, but other than that, I have not thought of anything else. I don't really know what there is to do after that big end game goal is done. I can go for maybe some clue juggling or try to get some uniques from there, try to complete elite clues. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I haven't thought too far ahead on that.
Okay, so it seems like most of your obvious big end goals are PVM oriented.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That's completely fair. Um Man, I can't believe that you're actually toying with the idea of trying to max that account. That is
It,
like
it
that
could
is
be
wild to me.
could be interesting.
I mean, that would certainly give you some content for a while.
Yep.
Um
Yep. I'd be
but
good for quite a long time. Yeah.
wow. What item or perhaps level on your account right now are you the proudest of?
The proudest of.
It could, like I
Oh, I'd
said, it could be a
probably.
level, it could be a rare drop, it could be a
Ooh,
boss
okay.
fight or a quest completion. What's the proudest moment so far?
I think probably beating Rannis Draken, I'd say. That was one of my favorite moments of all time because I went in there on a literal practice run
Hmm.
and just got the most incredible RNG of all time. And it's just I don't know. That was awesome to me. So I'm very glad that that happened.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say. I mean, that was probably the most hyped I've ever been for a RuneScape YouTube video, maybe of all time. It's
It
it's
was
like a
awesome. I loved
heavyweight
it.
boxing match, like world title,
Mhm.
and swampletics comes out on top. Spoiler alert.
Right, yeah.
But
The underdog victory, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know I would love to, of course, speak more about your end goals and achievements and what you plan on doing in the latter part of your time on Swampletics, but I know that all of that is top secret because, of course, we don't
Right,
want
yeah.
any spoilers for the YouTube series.
Mhm.
Um, but on that topic, I think that's going to segue us perfectly into one of the final parts of the podcast today, which is just about content creation in general and the community, the Snowflake community, and how it's grown.
Mhm.
So, on the topic of keeping things under wraps for the future of your account, that's something that is in juxtaposition to the way I approach my account. And I'm really
Right,
interested
yeah.
to know about your thoughts behind this, because for me, um, I primarily stream on Twitch, and then I have my YouTube content on the side to supplement what I'm doing on the live streams. But for
Mhm.
you, there's an obvious focus on the YouTube content creation side of things, and you make it a big point to not or to try and preserve as many spoilers as possible. So talk to me about your thought process behind that.
I think the way to sum this up is I was streaming one day and someone came in and they were like it kind of seems like you have an epiphany in every single Swampletics video. And I think the reason for that is because I don't reveal at all what I'm going to be doing in this episode or the next episode or in the next week or anything. I think keeping that surprise element is so important to the entertainment of a series, although you could definitely make it entertaining, laying all your goals out. But I think the surprise factor is definitely what keeps a lot of people hooked. And I try to make every episode kind of like just, hey, I found this really obscure thing and it's going to be awesome. And, no one was expecting that because no one had any idea that I was, even doing it. That's why every single episode, I just introduced the episode with, hey, this is what we're gonna be doing this episode, and this is what I want at the end of it. And I'm kind of ranting off here, but the basic premise is that I don't stream the account because I really value the whole surprise element of the series.
I get that 100%. Do you think that that has been one of the big factors in the popularity of the series?
I'd say so. I think it's definitely got a big part. Um, Other than that, I just one thing that I've really liked doing in the past couple weeks with these videos is having goal oriented videos where I could probably split up all my videos and I could probably have like 20 episodes out at this point, but every single video has one goal to it. And I think that is what people really enjoy seeing is like, this is what this video is going to be about. And I want to see how he does this. So I think that is kind of, I'd say that's probably the biggest part of the success factor is the goal oriented progress rather than, hey guys, welcome back to another episode where today we're gonna get like one Slayer level, and then I'm gonna go do some Barrows and Wintertod. Like every episode has a goal and a process.
I think you nailed that on the head. Now, even you just saying that hits home a little bit for me because in the past, for me in particular, I've felt that way about my own videos, and obviously I see that in other content creators as well. That there's really no overarching theme or like goal for a
Hmm.
video. That they just kind of wait till X amount of time has elapsed, and then whatever they've
The
accomplished.
10-minute mark.
Right? Yeah, yeah. The 10-minute, 4-second videos.
Right.
Then they get posted. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, and there are people that execute
Hmm.
that style very well.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I think that what you have done with Swampletics in the last few months is absolutely game changing and has raised the bar higher than it's ever been before. Not to talk you up too much, of course, but
Yeah, okay, we got to
but
balance out the ego, but
right, yeah, of
yeah,
course,
I
gotta stay
completely
humble.
understand. Right,
but
right.
but but seriously, I applaud you so much for what you've done with the progress video meta. Um, and again, just speaking out of my own personal experience, I found it absolutely fascinating that you could take an entire progress video and just make it about doing your bridge jumping agility training. And
Yep.
that was earth shattering to me, and I think to the community as a whole, because you prove that it's not necessarily just about the content, but it's about the delivery.
Hmm.
And that for me was an absolute game changer because I always felt obligated to deliver like as much just content and levels and everything as possible in a single video. But
Right.
it doesn't necessarily have to be about that because again, as you said, if there's no real point to any of it,
Hmm.
it's all just kind of it's all kind of homogenous. But you
Exactly.
have like you have really started this new trend in being able to uh, basically make each episode its own individual package. So you lay it
Exactly.
out right
Yeah.
from the beginning and say, this is what I want to get to. This is what I've discovered along the way that helps me get there. And then at the end of the episode, generally, you
The
reach that
payoff.
goal.
Yep.
Right. Um, it's yeah. So obviously you are doing remarkably well. Um, did you anticipate the series performing this well before you released the first episode?
Absolutely not. No. Um, I did try something different that I tried with these videos as well because along with that, I've been doing the whole like end goal thing for a little while. Maybe not to the extent that I have, but I mean, I made a video out of like 300 hours of straight rune crafting,
Sure.
or stuff like that. But what I really wanted to do with the Swampletics series is make it appeal to a different audience. So I tried to explain everything so that someone who has barely played the game can understand and get on board with this series. And what I've seen a lot in the feedback is that, hey, I haven't played this game in like 13 years, but I really enjoy this series because of your explanation. And yeah, maybe some players who have played all this time and know all this stuff, they're probably, maybe some people get annoyed with it. They're like, yeah, I know all this stuff. But some people haven't played that long, and I just wanted to make it appeal to every single type of audience, and I do think that that also contributes to the success of it because even my friend, like, he showed it to his roommate, and his roommate is completely uninterested in the game, but yet he enjoys the series. So I think I've done something really well with that whole explanation and catering to people who haven't really played the game.
Yeah. And what I find interesting about that point in particular is that you can make something even as niche as a Mauritania locked Ultimate Iron Man accessible to the general RuneScape population,
Hmm.
which I didn't think was really feasible before.
Yeah, me
Um,
neither.
and it seems like you've really been able to seriously master the craft of targeting a specific audience, which is
Hmm.
again, like as you said, it might seem a little redundant in some of your videos, some of the explanation, because for we RuneScape veterans who have been
Right.
playing the game for over a decade might know some of this information, but just that explaining the obvious to people, I think is a really really attractive point in your series that has obviously made it blow up. Um,
Hmm.
I'm honestly just very, very humbled to have you in the community, to
Oh.
have other people like Verf in the community as well. Because I think one
Mhm.
thing that I think that collectively snowflakes are doing on the whole for the community is just raising the bar of content. I don't know how you feel about this personally, but I feel like YouTube content, um, specifically from like in the 2016 2017 range, was a little stale across the board.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we are kind of in the golden age at the moment, is what I've heard a lot of people refer to it as. Like everyone's quality, everyone's presentation is getting better. There are creative ideas coming, and I don't know. It's I think the improvement has been incredible.
yeah, the bar has certainly been raised, and it's almost a little. I mean, it's almost a little counterintuitive because you'd think the longer the game goes on, especially without the introduction of any like official modes, because obviously we
Hmm.
had Iron Man and Ultimate in 2014. We had Hardcore Iron Man, I think, in the fall of 2016.
Yep.
So you would think that over time the content would become stale across the board and less interesting. But for us to have reached this new, golden age, as you said, some people are calling it,
Hmm.
is fascinating. For an 18-year-old MMORPG, um, that's just part of the
Yeah.
charm that I love
There
about
are,
this game.
yeah, exactly. After all this time, there's still ways to make it fresh and interesting. Like that is something that I don't think any other game can really say for itself, even.
How do you keep your content fresh and your viewers engaged? And how do you keep viewers interested, even though your content in particular for you might get stale? So, for example, you have hundreds of hours of temple trekking on your hands. How do you keep that fresh for yourself, and how do you keep it fresh for your viewers?
So for myself, kind of it's kind of difficult because I just purely run off the satisfaction of making the account better, and also I have all this motivation from YouTube and Twitch and whatever else, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I've never really had a problem with doing that kind of stuff. I'm completely fine with grinding the temple trekking for this many hours if it means, some big things for the account. For the videos, it is a completely different beast,
Hmm.
because, like I said, I've done a video on 300 hours of rune crafting before, and that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done to make a video interesting. And
Yeah.
I still don't really know how I did it, but it was one of my like most well received videos, and I think people are very interested in these kind of mind numbing grinds in, condensed into these, like 15-20 minute videos. And I
Why?
think as long as
I was gonna say, why do you think that is? Why do you think people are so intrigued by this?
I think people just kind of live vicariously through it. I mean, that's what I've seen in all of my comment sections when I put a ton of hours into something, whether it be my construction while maxing or my rune crafting. People just really love to see the stuff that they could not be bothered to do. And I think that definitely has an effect. I think there's definitely still ways to make it entertaining, but I think, as long as you can do it, first of all, and as long as you're enthusiastic and you're positive and like you're whatchamacallit, if you're passionate about the account is what I was really trying to get there, then it will show. And I think, yeah, just doing those grinds while you're passionate about them, I think that's pretty much how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head once again about people living vicariously through your content and other people's content. I have the same theory that people enjoy watching this kind of content and other kind of content. For example, PvP.
Hmm. Yeah.
Deadman mode has been out for several years now, and some people wonder why. But again, I think it proves to continuously be as popular as it is because people live vicariously through that content because they themselves either aren't good enough or aren't interested enough or
Right.
invested enough to do
Yeah.
it themselves. Um, and so I think that's why, obviously, we have a bunch of big PvP RuneScape YouTubers in the community, like Torvesta, Framed, Bodhi when he was in the PvP scene and his one man army series.
Hmm.
These are some of the most successful guys in the scene because they're doing content that most people don't interact with, and so they're living vicariously through them. And
Right.
I
Yeah.
think this is the next frontier of that. That we're figuring out a new era of emergent gameplay in the game that's, nearly 2 decades old. And most people just can't imagine doing some of these grinds themselves. And so they live vicariously through swampletics, my Mauritania locked ultimate Ironman,
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
in order in
exactly.
order in order to get that experience. But
Mhm.
some people are interested enough to hop in to the community, the Snowflake community themselves. So talk to me. What are your thoughts on the growth of the Snowflake Ironman community in the last 6 months?
So I think that even though some people are kind of taking it to ridiculous extents, I think it's such an attractive thing to watch. I mean, I love how much the community has grown. One of my favorite Snowflake accounts currently is this one chunk man, which
Ah, yes, one chunk man.
yeah,
He's all the
came out of the
rage.
blue,
Hmm.
but my God, can he make a 90-minute video entertaining, which is something I've never seen before. I mean, a 90-minute progress video
Yeah, that is very
twice
meta
now,
changing.
and people are watching this and they're enjoying it. Most people are watching most of it, and that's fantastic. I think this is the only type of content that you could really do that with and get away with it, and make it interesting. I think I'm so invested into other people's grinds, I guess, seeing them break the possibilities.
One thing that does sort of concern me, though, both just as a player and also as a content creator, is the seeming super saturation of the community right now.
That
Do you have
yeah,
any thoughts on that?
I was gonna touch on that because I don't have a problem with it if the ideas are done well. I
Hmm.
think if the presentation is there, if the quality is there, and people are genuinely passionate about it, then I don't see a problem with it. But I think the like you said, the saturation of it currently is definitely probably taking away some people's interest of it before they even get into it. Like some people are probably writing it off completely, uh, watching these series because they see these accounts everywhere and they're like, well, you're the same as this other guy. And I don't know. I definitely think it used to be like this super niche, incredible thing to be a part of. It's slowly getting saturated, but I think if everything is done well, I think it could be a net positive.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword that you know, we colloquially call ourselves snowflakes, which again, to my knowledge, the etymology of that stemmed from me calling myself a snowflake in Caveman, kind of ironically with self-deprecating humor. But now it's come to be known as just like this unique way of playing an Iron Man
Hmm.
in particular in the game. And I think it comes at a trade-off because on the one hand, people are rediscovering the game and falling in love with it all over again. I'm sure you have plenty of people who reach out to you and say, "Hey, you inspired me, to play the game again after seeing your
Hmm.
series." So it's bringing people back to the game. It's getting them involved and having them fall in love with the game all over again. But then on the
Hmm.
other hand, this super saturation of content we've seen lately um, is I think possibly turning away some people because it's almost like there are so many snowflakes now that it almost seems like 2019 is
Yeah.
going like the making a snowflake Iron Man account is going to be like the norm, and all of like the
Mhm.
normal main accounts are going to be the new snowflakes.
Right.
um,
Doing a complete 180 basically. I
yeah,
really hope it doesn't get to that point because I think there's really something special about it all at the moment, especially if a series is done well. But I mean, what can you do? People are going to do what they want,
yeah.
and you know,
Yeah,
about
I,
all I
I
can
I think
say.
it's a phase, and as you said earlier, as long
Hmm.
as it's done well and as long as they're passionate about it, I don't see any problem with it. For the people out there who are definitely in this to take it seriously and to create some genuinely good, fun, interesting, unique content, what advice would you have for up and coming content creators?
Hmm. I'd say probably the one thing is make sure that you pick an account that you seriously enjoy. Pick an area that you will personally have fun with, and not something that would be interesting for just the content, I suppose is what I'm getting at here. Because I mean, although something like definitely cut down, just go with as little exceptions as possible. You will thank yourself later, and just have fun with it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Do something that you're going to genuinely enjoy. Uh, I can't speak for this myself because you guys know I'm an exception-only Iron Man, but I would say, generally speaking, it is best to go with as few exceptions as possible because, first of all, it's going to make your life easier. And second of all, it's going to make it easy, if you are trying to produce content, it's going to make it easier for people to wrap their heads around and for them to follow. But yeah,
I
just
think
have fun with it.
one thing to say here is Snowflake Iron Men are like jokes. If you need to explain it, it's not going to be that funny. So
That is perfect. Well said.
pick something that you won't have to explain to literally everyone.
Yeah, and again, the more exceptions you have, the more explaining you're gonna have to do.
Hmm.
And yeah, sometimes I kind of feel like my live streams and my YouTube comment section on my videos are literally just like question and answer sessions. Um, so yeah, take one from me who's been doing this for a while. Yeah, that is say that again because I really like that.
Snowflake Iron Men are like jokes. If you have to explain it, it's not going to be that funny.
Oh man, I love that. That it makes so much sense. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So I think that is wonderful advice. Um, any other closing comments from you on your end?
Um, I don't think so. Subscribe to Caveman only.
Oh my God,
That's
please don't.
I'm expecting my PayPal payment for the advertising. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yes, that's excellent. Yeah.
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. What's the best way for people to reach you?
Um, my probably my Twitter or my Twitch. Settled RS on Twitter and just settled on Twitch.
Okay, great. Going forward with your swampletics account, do you plan on streaming that account much in the future?
Um, I do eventually, probably once I start to hit this temple trekking grind, because, like I touched on earlier with the whole keeping spoilers away, the temple trekking grind, there's really not going to be much to spoil, so I'd like to stream it at that point. But before that, probably just want to keep it YouTube only.
Sure, great. And obviously, if you're not familiar, settled RS swampletics. This guy's the man. If you don't know swampletics in 2019, do you really play RuneScape? I'm not sure. But hey, anyway, settled. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your busy day and schedule to do this interview. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on today. It was a very enjoyable conversation. So, uh, yeah, thank you for this.
I hope those of you listening at home have enjoyed this rendition of the Snowflake Spotlight. On the next podcast, I'll be interviewing the original gamer who brought us area-restricted Iron Man gameplay, Mr. Wildependant, and his unofficial wilderness-only Iron Man from way back in 2014. Post your questions you may have for Wildependant below in the comments, and you may just have your question answered on the next episode. If you need more Snowflake Iron Man content in your life and can't wait for the next episode, be sure to check out our subreddit, Our Unique Iron Men, the central hub for all things Snowflake Iron Man related. I'll have a link for you below in the description. The Snowflake Spotlight is a podcast series hosted by me, Caveman only, right here on my YouTube channel every other Friday. I want to give a special thank you to Settled for taking time out of his very busy YouTube King schedule for this interview, to IG Designs for his background artwork, to you, the listener, for your support in making it this far, and once again, to OSRS bestinslot.com for sponsoring this podcast. Again, this platform is a really useful tool to have in your online arsenal, especially those of you who are new to endgame PVM like me. On top of just showing what gear is best in slot for whatever attack style, the part I find most useful is the bossing tab with the different gear breakdowns based on your budget. Obviously for me, the one bill raids gear tribrid setup isn't really ideal, which is what I see a lot of other pros raiding with on Twitch. So on this site here, I can check out the cheaper setups that will be more similar to what I expect to bring to raids for me. There are also other links on the website to other resources like Sync's in-depth solo raids guide and the We Do Raids Discord server. I wouldn't have accepted this sponsorship to say all this sellouty stuff if I didn't have full faith in this website and this guy's one-man operation. So check below the video here for a link to the site and see for yourself how useful this can be for you. Again, the site is OSRS bestinslot.com, or just Google anything related to RuneScape and gear and you can find it that way too. And end paid advertisement here. Anyway, thank you again for listening. I'll see you next time.